Hey guys, it's Daniel, and I've got today's strengths of the day. And so, what I wanted to talk about today was ankle mobility and stability. And the reason why I think this is super important is because I know that the lower body is something that is super, super, super integral into anybody's exercise program, whether it be weightlifting, running, or jogging, or anything like that. What I want to show you guys is some exercises to strengthen, to stretch, and to assess your own ankle mobility and stability. One of the exercises that I'm going to use as an example for this is the squat, because the squat is something that is very well known. It's pretty common. A lot of people do it out there. Um, for example, here we go. If I were to be in a squatting position, I'd be like this. Okay. Ideally, you've got flexion of the hips, of the knees, and dorsiflexion of the ankle. Now, a lot of times when people feel restricted with movement, they tend to associate it with something going on with their knees or their hips, and they completely overlook what's going on down here with the ankle. So, this dorsiflexion motion here is facilitated by the tibialis anterior, which is the muscle that runs in the front part of the leg, the lower leg right here. Now, there's also the peroneals, so the peroneal brevis and longus, which run on the lateral side of the leg, that kind of facilitate the motion of eversion, which is this motion right here. Now, you need to have that motion to properly be able to move the foot as you're walking or running, so that's also important to note. And then you also have to take into consideration the fact that the calf muscle, or the gastrocnemius, has to be able to properly flex to bring the foot back up and bring you up to a proper position. And it also has to eccentrically contract as you're being lowered. So it has to control your weight as you're lowering. Now, another thing that you have to know is that the calf muscle is actually a pretty big muscle because it's composed of the gastroc and the soleus. Now, the soleus is the muscle that lies underneath the gastroc, and it's not very visible. And it's often only active when the knee is in this flexed position. As soon as the knee becomes extended, the gastroc takes over. When the knee is in a flexed position, the soleus is more active. So there's a lot of intricacies that occur in the lower leg that are often overlooked. So let's just say that, for example, someone's having a hard time running because they're not getting enough bend in the lower foot, or someone's having a hard time squatting because the same thing, they're not getting enough bend in the lower foot. Now, there are various ways to treat this. There are stretches and some strengthening exercises that we can do that I want to show you guys. Two stretches that you guys can do with a wall or a little block like the one that I have right here are going to address the flexibility of the gastroc and the soleus. So if I am in a standing position with my knees fully flexed, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to put my foot on this block. And you can imagine that this block can be a wall as well. So if you put your foot up on a wall like this, you keep the knee straight, you kind of just lean into it, you get a nice stretch in the gastroc. So this is a good way to kind of warm up your lower legs if you're going to go off on a run or do a workout for your lower body. Now, if you want to address the soleus, what you need to do is you need to do that same stretch, but you need to do it with the knees in a flexed position. So you can either do two things. You can stand up, put it on there, bend the knee, and lean into it, or you can use a stool or a chair, prop the foot up there, the knee is bent, and same thing, you just want to lean forward, and the more forward you can get, the more of a stretch you're going to get. Obviously here I'm restricted by this, so I can't get that big into it, but you guys can use a wall or a stool or anything that's not restricting your motion. So that's a great way to address the stretching aspect of those two muscles. Now, a way to strengthen those is with calf raises, which are pretty well known, but if you want to strengthen the gastroc, same principle applies as to the stretching. You want to strengthen it with the knee extended. So you can simply just do heel raises and standing, just like that. You just want to make sure that you control your motion both up and down, okay? And you can load it by holding a weight or using weights on your back or anything like that. Now, if you want to strengthen the soleus, you do the same thing, but with the knees flexed. So, for example, if I were to hold a dumbbell or a weight right here in my arms and put it on my legs, I would just do that same thing, the heel raise with my knees bent, but that's going to target the soleus underneath the gastroc. So another thing that I want to talk about are the peroneals. And the peroneals are the muscles that run on the side of the lower leg, okay? So you've got two major ones, really, the longus and the brevis. So longus just means it's pretty long, so it starts up a little bit higher and goes all the way down to the ankle, and brevis means a little bit shorter. That starts a little bit lower on the leg and still connects down here in the ankle. One of the things that you can do is stretch out the peroneals, and that's going to help you with those eversion and inversion mobilities. So that means the ankle's ability to turn in and out, okay? So if you have a tightness in those peroneals here, you're going to have a hard time turning the foot in. And if you have a weakness, you're going to have a hard time turning the foot out. So you want to strengthen and stretch both aspects. Now I've got this band here, and so this band can be replaced by a belt or anything really that you can wrap around your foot and hold on to with your hands. So I'm going to show you a stretch. So in order to stretch these muscles on the side of the foot, on the outer side of the foot, you want to turn the foot in. So if you turn the foot in and you're trying to stretch them, you want to pull that exact same way. So I'm turning my foot in, and then I'm pulling at an angle so that I get that stretch right here on the sides. Okay? Now if I want to strengthen these muscles, I'm going to hold the band or the belt or anything off to the side and try to turn the foot outwards. Just like that, okay? You guys can see it right there. And that's going to provide some strengthening to the outside of the foot. So the reason why I'm wanting to share these tips with you guys is because, again, like I said earlier, the foot is the first point of contact within the body whenever you're doing some sort of a lower body motion. And therefore, it's super important and often overlooked because we tend to think that our feet are always taking care of themselves because we're always walking. But a lot of times we develop restrictions because we're just, if we're just walking, we're walking straight. We're walking straight and we're not really thinking about shifting to the side, moving outwards, inwards, anything like that. And oftentimes those stretches can be neglected. So if you guys are having trouble with some running, walking, or jogging, even squatting, and it feels like it's coming from your ankles, try some of these exercises, some of these stretches, and then start reassessing week by week, and hopefully you guys make some progression and fix those problems, okay? Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.